What's good, everyone? Welcome to Doctors for a Good Cause, hosted on the Melvin Jenny. I'm Dr. Jenny, and in today's video, I want to talk about something that I saw on the internet. So I came across this video, very disturbing video. You guys should watch it. Before I talk about the things that are actually disturbing in the video, I want us to talk a bit about water. The water that we recommend for daily use in terms of consumption and stuff. Let's start from the level of potable water. By potable water, we mean water that has not come into contact with fecal matter. Once water comes into contact with the fecal matter, human fecal matter, we say that water is no longer potable. So I want us to talk about certain properties of water that if these properties are not there, obviously this water starts becoming a red flag for you and I to consume. So let's talk about the physical properties. When we look at water, water is not supposed to have any color. It's supposed to be colorless. Water is supposed to be odorless. It shouldn't have a smell. Water is supposed to be tasteless. So for those of you who can taste water, there's a problem there. Unless the water is probably flavored or anything of that sort, then we are going to come to those also. So those are the three key physical properties of water that at least we can easily perceive. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is a bit technical, which is the water density. So the density of water is about 1 gram per centimeter cube. And that is where we'd want to leave the density. Another thing we want to talk about is the turbidity of water. So the turbidity is how relatively clear the water is. We usually have a reference. So if this turbidity is greater than 5 NTU, we do not recommend that water for consumption. Okay, so that's with the physical properties of water. When we come to the chemical properties of water, please pay attention to all this part because your health is paramount to us, and that is why we are giving you this information. So when it comes to the chemical properties of water, the very first thing we want to talk about is the pH. You might think this value is not really important to you, but it's about how acidic or how basic your water is. The more we lean towards one, the more poisonous the water is going to be for you. When it comes to the Food and Drugs Authority in Ghana, they recommend a pH of about 6.5 to 8.5. And this is not for Ghana alone. It's almost in line with the WHO standards. So that is about pH. Now, the second thing we want to talk about is that the water should be accurately fluorinated. So by fluorine, the element fluorine. And what it's going to do is that we said adequately. It shouldn't be too much. It shouldn't be too less. If we have too much fluorine, we're looking at a condition called fluorosis. And what that is going to do is that your dental enamel, the hard part, is going to break off easily. And if there's also very little fluorine inside your water, you are prone to dental cavities. Now, we also want to talk about heavy metals. So like arsenic, like lead, we don't need all those things inside water. It's going to be poisonous for us. So we also want those, at least not in our water at all. Then we come to the biological properties. When it comes to the biological properties of water, what we are looking for is a coliform count. And the coliform count, it just means the amount of E. coli inside your water. E. coli is a dangerous bacteria for your gut. And per the drinking water, we want E. coli to be 0 in each 100 milliliters of water. So we don't want any E. coli in your drinking water at all. Then we also check for other microorganisms in the water. We check for the presence of algae and all those kind of things. Before the water, we can actually say this water is safe for human consumption. All right. I'm sure majority of you are interested in how the water is coming from, wherever the water is coming from, into your homes and whether that water is safe to drink. I'm going to quickly run through that. So for water that is sent to our homes, we first want to make sure that that water is potable, like we said. So now we collect and then we store that water. So when that water is collected and stored at whichever unit it's going to be stored from, the water needs to be aerated. So the water is exposed to air. Then the next thing is that same water, if there are any substances inside of that water, we usually add alum to the water and then we bring all those substances together. Then they sit at the bottom so that only the water is left. So that is called alumination or coagulation of the water. Now, when that water is now done, it needs to be filtered to remove the other particles that are left inside the water. So the water is either passed through a sand filtration or a split filtration bed, and we filter that water. So mind you, now we've gotten rid of the big things inside the water. Now what of the small things, these things that cause diseases? We need to disinfect the water. So we pass chlorine through the water. It's a process called chlorination. So we add chlorine to the water, and what happens is that chlorine is going to kill the microorganisms inside of the water so that the water that comes to you is safe. Now somebody's going to ask, the water is passing through pipes, is doing this, is doing that. So most of the time, from the water companies and whoever filters and disinfects our water for us, in this case, which is going to be the Ghana Water Company, what happens is that they add a bit of residual chlorine. So that residual chlorine just means additional chlorine, so that when the water is passing through your pipes, by the time the water comes into contact with any microorganism from the pipes, or if there has been any water leakage somewhere that something got into the pipe, that chlorine is able to deal with these stuff. So that is residual chlorination. Then after that, the water comes into your homes. So the water coming into your homes, per the Ghana Water Company, is very safe. And that water is potable. You can consume it. Now let's go to the things that we are seeing inside this video. Guys, this woman, first of all, it's one small, what's the name? Jerrycan or container or whatever it is. She has only put a sieve there. So the only thing that we can be sure of is that this water has been filtered. So wherever she's fetching the water from, whether she's fetching it from her tap, which we can't be so sure, the hygienic conditions around, God knows what, she's not wearing gloves. In fact, there is nothing that is recommendable about that kind of water that she's bringing out. And I feel like with this whole pure water thing, it needs to be heavily regulated. Because now everybody, they sit house and they're able to make pure water. I don't know how cheap the machine is to get, but that packaging is going to come out and it's going to end up on the streets of our country. Probably, I sure say Accra. But it's going to end up on the streets and people are going to buy that water. People are going to drink. This kind of water, wherever the woman is getting it from, this water is definitely not per the standard of the water that I've explained to you guys. You get it? So we should be very mindful of the kind of water that we are drinking. We are exposing ourselves to diseases. We are exposing ourselves probably to some heavy metals. We are exposing ourselves to a whole lot, which is not healthy for us, the human being. I know we want to cut on cost to say, okay, water is cheap, 50 pesos, and that even bottled water, it's not all of them that is still safe, because we don't know how these crooks are making water from anywhere. So I'd like to say we should stick with the trusted brands, but still, they can get the packages and do these things from the comfort of their bedrooms. So we beg, we need stricter regulations from the government, because now any crook can sit at home and make water. I feel like these people should be treated as they are, because this is borderline, I don't want to mention the word, but this is leaning towards assassination, mass assassination. Because if this water is heavily polluted, whoever is drinking it is at a serious risk. And so please, we beg the government, stricter rules, stricter enforcement, so that this kind of water does not end up on our streets. As usual, we've brought you the information. We expect you to advise yourselves with this, and then make sure that you are not drinking untreated water. Thank you, and we'll see you in the next video.